out there. What an unlucky situation, the release of that song. What's going on, friends? What's going on? Let's see. Let me switch. Hello, hello, hello. I was just catching up on all of this Summer Wells updates. Of course, it's a day after the 5-year anniversary of the day that she was reported to police as missing. Not much has changed. Meaning from the information that we got to know starting on that day. Now, we've been there since day one. We've went through many growing pains on this particular topic, Summer Wells. Never in the wrong, always in the right, but when you lay with dogs, sometimes you're going to get fleas. All of our Summer Wells content, not all of it, just up until recently. I was going back through it just a little earlier, right here. And I was going back and checking out some of my first streams on it, on the topic. I got 1,000 likes on a couple of live streams. And let me tell you, looking back on that 5 years later, it wasn't because I was making good content. It wasn't because I was doing anything other than taking an interest in that particular case based off of the parents acting funny, to use a clinical YouTube term. I'm not trying to make it comedy or anything. Anyway, sorry about that. I was laughing to myself. Well, I'm thinking, holy fuck. But what I'm getting at is it was representative of some of the hype that goes along with wanting to gain as much information in that time as possible. And it shows the interest level on a place like YouTube. This is what makes everybody come out of the woodwork, essentially, that sort of hype. And they want to tap into that somehow. If a guy like me back at that point was getting 1,000 likes on a live stream, 1,000 likes, that's getting in the algorithm. And, you know, I looked back at it and most of it, I'm glad it's down because I hate watching and listening to myself. And so when I go back and I critique myself, even though there's information amongst what it is that I'm presenting, I don't like it because I can see myself getting dragged into sidetracking and drama because of Mike Demand. He's rewired my brain. I should give him a special shout out, by the way. Get over there and become a member to Mike Demand's channel. You'll be glad you did. Not just because of how great of a statement analyst he is, but he'll trigger off all kinds of other things. And it's not just Mike Demand. I just like to glaze him a little bit. All right. Because he's deserving of it. But it started with Chris McDonough and Peter Hyatt. Peter Hyatt took an interest in this case right away. And that's what got me down the lines of it. But I always thought it was something that was, I need to go get trained for, and it's inachievable, until I met Mike Demand. And even though he uses PLADES in this framework, priority leakage, avoidance intentions, distancing language, and sensitivities, it still takes you back, and you still have to apply it with other things that you'll learn. And it's all really the same thing. And it comes back to individuals you catch on easily. And it can't be, what I'm trying to say is don't be intimidated by statement analysis in these little tools. What it does when you're on the internet is it focuses on something factual, especially to at least base whatever people's opinions they're going to form out there are, rather than, and what I'm trying to say in a YouTube sense is that it's much more valuable than side drama. Now, drama is always going to sell and talking shit, but it is, in these cases, it's such a waste of time. at the end of the day. Now, that's just speaking in the Summer Wells circumstance. Things that you learn. Not saying that I'm good and everybody else is bad in that sense, but I wish I treated things a little bit differently, especially when it came to Jody Sue. And I always talk nicely about Jody Sue, but there was a time where I let my imagination and speculation get away with me, and I got preoccupied with the bullshit that came along with the neighbor of Summer Wells in that sense. I'm not looking to sidetrack you right now. Isn't that what I'm kind of doing? Anyway, we can get on with things. Fuck. We should give some updates. Really, there's very little details other than they're using the FBI is involved in headlines a lot more, I've noticed. As far as information from that day, we have it all. The public has as much as the parents have been willing to say, have been willing to share. Their sketchy behavior has always never changed. It's always been questionable. It's been off. Oh, Chicken Whisperer. He's got a couple. Not like he did a lot of content, but the little videos that he did do, Summer was one of them, and it had to do with Dawn's statement and her mother's statement. Dawn, the first thing that Peter reminded you is Dawn's out there talking, because if you remember, it was what is that news publication with he's the brother, the editor of the Journal, the Times News Review. He goes under different acronyms here on YouTube. You can go and pull it up on YouTube, but he's a journalist around there, Bobo. And he got the early conversation with Dawn. Dawn was the only one out and the only one talking. This is such a crazy time, and people are bouncing off the walls, and Dawn just walks into it with his arms wide open. And these are the things that we watched early on, and the activity that was going on with the family on Facebook, which is interesting now because those accounts had been deleted. So, and it's not like it's groundbreaking evidence or anything, but it showed the types of intimidation tactics and public statements that Dawn was speaking out against Andrew's son Hunter at the time. And at that point in time, it's not like you're looking at these people knowing and being able to have analyzed them already, and you look back over hindsight, having known them for 5 years now. When you're in it, think about how different of a mindset that you have in taking information when you're trying to, or you first meet that individual or introduced to the players in this case. What's up, Adele? I was looking at an analysis Mike did on Candace and Dawn's interview 13 days after Summer was. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, it was almost 6 weeks before Candace even came out and spoke. So it was a real circus within that first little bit until she came out. I can remember sitting back and thinking, when Candace came out and did that interview down by the river with Chris McDonough, initially I walked away thinking, wow, that was a really good move on her part. Like it's going to humanize you. It's going to allow people to understand what it is that's hurting you at that point in time. But it was interesting nonetheless. It was certainly an interesting interview down by the river. We got to learn just how much of a bullshitter she is, and that's a different story. But Chris McDonough's involvement with it was fantastic. His wife and Chris went up there, and met with Candace and did a walkthrough of Summer's home and her bedroom and the place, almost just like what Janie's doing over in Jack and Lily's case, in a way. And it was, supposed to, well, it's from the perspective of an innocent person, like, Dawn and Candace are making themselves out to be. It should be a welcomed situation, especially when you go and invite them onto your property. That's a fairly significant move. But what it said to me in the background at that time, and what we experienced, is it was receptive only because there was some sort of preconceived notion by way of Dawn and Candace that it was going to be presented a certain way. And that was so powerful looking back. And we weren't even familiar with Chris McDonough at that point in time. Of course he's famous in his circles, but he hadn't been 5 years farther on the interview room as he is now. I don't mind Chris McDonough whatsoever. People can have their opinions. I think him being on YouTube and the work that he does is fantastic with the code case files and everything. Now you see him a lot pop up on Nancy Grace and he's in the loop, right? In the lab, and Josh is in the loop with Chris. So it's still talked about. You guys probably already take it all in, many of you anyway, because you probably subscribed here because of this case. What else is on my mind on the top of it? Yeah, there's certain things that pop up, like not even going sidetracking, but the players involved in the foggy time between the time Candace got home and the time 911 was called, and the response around the holler, Ben Hill Road, brings into question Fred Hill. And Fred Hill, of course, is Ziggy's husband. Ziggy, the Zigster, married this dude. She fell in love with him while she was interviewing him from a jail cell. And somehow magic happened. So let me tell you, friends in jail and people who are thinking about ending things because they're lonely, if it can happen to Fred, it can happen to anybody. And I guess they're doing okay now. I'm still subbed to her, but I don't watch her all that much. They have their own little spin-off show going. What the hell is with the... Sorry, guys, my chat is gone. Just a sec. I'm looking at it, and it's the same damn comment. It's like I'm talking to two people, but there's really people talking, and I don't see it. There we go. Good to see you, Quiz. Jen R, hello. There are people coming in and talking. I've probably missed you because I haven't been seeing you. Helicopter Grandma, hello. Yeah, so how have we improved over here in this time? Well, that's where I was going with all of these comments about statement analysis and deception detection in these particular cases. Not asking you and telling you it's the be all and end all, but it's a fantastic start to form a baseline in your mind. In these cases, it's always going to be relevant. You're always talking about something on point. You can opinionate from then on out. You can opinionate all you want. You can talk shit, but as long as you focus on the important parts of it, you're not going to fucking stray too far away. In the last 5 years, I was scrolling through some of these lives, and I was starting to laugh at myself, missing some of these characters, like Doug. My problem here on the internet is some of them, not all of them, some of the people that you focus on that become a focus, you end up developing a fondness for, or somehow it becomes less of a problem in your mind over time. So that's been a problem for me. Like, even though Doug and I aren't friends, I still look at his old content in a nostalgic type way because of all of the laughs that I've had over watching it. I can't help but have a fondness for the guy. That's just being human, I think. I hope yeah, he's up on TikTok still doing. I wonder if he's still with the Crime and Justice. You remember his hardcore sidekick that he picked up, his Robin? Anyway, but there is people, I totally forgot, like Blind Bob and the whole saga with that gal out west. We met Cher from Voices Behind the Wall, went to war with her. Internet, stupid drama stuff in that sense. But it's not something that I really look back and want to make public again. Like I'm proud of the content. That's why I'm saying to you, you know, it could have been a lot different. You could have spent your time making like a shorter video that had lasting power in that sense, rather than, you know, if you're talking about something and you get sidetracked into drama, then you probably don't want it up all that much. Or even when you expose people for the shit that they're doing in the background, you can only hold it against them so much, you know? I mean, now that you know, now we know you. So now that we know the facts, it's not like trolling and how you feel about the person changes. It does me. Anyway. Stacia, you're saying you're a newbie to Summer's case? I'm stunned by the criminality and squalor that she had to live with. Yeah, there's some problems up there. By the way, Donna, thank you very much for your order the other day. Please go check your email, darling. Get back to me. I communicated something to you. I just wanted to clarify something because you gave me a fantastic super chat the other day, and I want to make sure everything is okay with you in regards to your order before I send it. It's sitting up over there. What else is there? Some of Doug's interviews were good with DW. Well, wouldn't you know, Jen R? Yeah, him and the lab paired up early on, and they did some fantastic interviews for the time, and we reviewed them. So I mean, there's all kinds of clips of these. So did Jody Sue, Dawn, of course. Well, because Doug's just that dirty. Man, he really loves to get in there with the criminal element and embed himself. You know what I'm saying? Method acting in that sense. He's method acting for a role as a pseudo gonzo true crime reporter for the guilty. No matter what, he needs those views. My God. See, Don and Candace utilized that from day one, the get-go. I mean, a lot about what we talked, I can remember early on in the cases, just how bizarre it looks for Don to walk in open arms to social media and then immediately start using it. Here he's using it because, well, we know why, but it's worth mentioning how he dove in head first just so he could use it as an excuse as to fill in for all of these future interviews that he's going to have, and he can have something to blame and reason for behaving a certain way that seems rational to a greater audience out there. Of course, you see that being used in a multitude of cases right now. And hey guys, what do you fucking think? Pardon my French, excuse me, trigger warning, strong language. What do you think about this Letitia Staunch situation? Can you imagine? I can't even imagine right now. Something's going to have to happen. Not in that way. Something in the legal process, in the legal scheme of things. That and there's a situation there too where the neighbor's camera is so very important to the public perception of the situation because, like Orrin and Orson West's neighbor was, there's no denying certain things. When the public sees something, there's that less of shit that the perpetrator can make up to bullshit you and use and it can be used against them by law enforcement. And that happened in both cases. Yeah, Robin, you're not a fan of her either? Jesus, man, she is a nightmare. There's an interesting, I got hooked I was peeling potatoes earlier, listening to Nancy Grace talk about Letitia. And the woman that she had on, I would guess that she's a psychologist, but she was talking about her psychology with some of the information that came out about her through getting to know her. She was giving the finger to the victims, that poor little boy's family in court, things like that. And they're talking about her psychopathy. And it was interesting. It's always interesting to hear somebody. And of course, those are just opinions too. She could be malingering. She could be just acting, lying to you. What's up, Corey Edwards? Slim, what's going on, girl? Disgusting, all of these convictions being overturned. So yeah, there's problems with Adam Montgomery's as well. I haven't gotten to know all the details. I just see the headlines floating across and start to watch and then think, uh-oh, what the fuck did they do? Off on a technicality. Just like the rap songs say. So I'm not going to pretend to know everything right now for you, like I'm Brian Enton, Arkansas White Dove. You can't believe Letitia's getting a new trial. Is she getting a new trial? Thank God. If they're taking it back through the process again, I don't think I have a problem. But you know how things can go in a jury trial, right? You hear that, Daniel, Malaya, Janie? You know how things can go in a jury trial. Those three are the next at the gates of hell. Sons of bitches. You can't believe, yes. Corey, good to see you. Yeah, maybe, you know what? I should probably talk a little nicer to Jody Sue. I wouldn't mind talking to her again. Get her up here and talk to her all these days later after I've dragged her through the mud back and forth. She loves to play fucking games on the internet anyway. So it's not a big loss. It's not like I was, singling her out in that sense. It's just, I couldn't believe Jody Sue. If you watched her old content when she was on Facebook, if you watched it, you would understand what I'm saying. First of all, who the fuck is she talking to? Pardon my French. Who are you talking to? It's like she was just talking like you're talking in a back and forth on a phone call to somebody that you knew, only there was nobody on the other side of that phone. Like this was a real exercise in acting, the Actors Guild. What the fuck? Yeah, Corey. You like the interview with Jody Sue Brown? I do too. I think our talk was good, and it was everything about life around there. But I wish I treated her different just based on how I feel about witnesses and speaking out in these situations. That's all. But that's me 5 years later. At the time, let me remind you about all of the fucking weird shit that was going on. When weird shit gets presented to you by weird people, I have, my alarms start get going off. So you never quite know what to believe. And I'm not the only person. But it came across and it came through her and Brad Wishin got involved, and the more we figured out, because Brad was there to scam and grift off of the billboards. The interviews with those workers were interesting, but where I'm going with all of that, Jody Sue was, well, looking back on it, in her opinion, she was lied to by a fake FBI agent who allegedly isolated her away. And I do know who that is, by the way. I think I do. And this is going on in the background. So this is all the nonsense that goes on in these cases that you would describe as happening, all the crazy shit that happens elsewhere. Yeah. Well, she ended up being not that bad of a person, come to find out. And whether it was her actually faking being the FBI agent she was in the loop somewhere and Benny's involved somewhere back in there. It's all good now. But at the time, it made Jody seem less trustworthy because of how it was that she was trying to explain what's going on with her. Anyway, there's no hard feelings in that sense. I hope I didn't put her through too much, but granted, it got her channel started, right? It got her channel started. Hey, Karen. It got her channel started and a lot of attention. And before you know it, there's a whole subculture of people that just solely hate and make content about Jody Sue. So it's almost like giving the person exactly what they wanted, right? At the end of the day, if you remember back, like in her just Facebook days, she's sitting there talking to fucking nobody with nobody watching her. Although maybe it's therapeutic in a sense, is what you were looking at. Talking about, you remember the early clips of Jody Sue talking about the neighbor and that dude that bought land up there, and he came up from Georgia, and there was a big kerfuffle where the guy was pitching a tent because they're arguing where his property lines were. And they argued about that for a while. I got distracted, sorry. Oh my God, Soldier Girl, what's going on? But there's a lot of good creators that got off to a start from there. What's it like now? If there's anybody, there's probably all kinds of you still watching. What about Prayer Garden? Does she still pump out the content every night? There's been some good spin-offs. Jody Sue Brown and Andy was allowed to leave Ben Hill and go to town for dinner before midnight, June 15th. I don't trust her, says Slim. Yeah, is that true? Oh, there I go again. Follow for everything everybody's telling me in chat. Follow around. Oh, that's true then. Really? That's out now, looking out. I don't remember that ever being a thing. What I'm trying to remember about Jody Sue is her lies and bullshit about these charges and Andy's charges. Remember, she's got a history. She used to be a stripper, making, shaking. If you can believe it, Jody Sue used to be shaking her moneymaker down at the local club. That's where they say Andy fell in love with her. And then, of course, there's right at that time too, Jody Sue was going through this world-changing event to her and her kids. Of course, she was going through a separation from her man Andy. Andy fucked off on her and went with some younger honey. Got away from her ass because, well, just wait till you get a load of her. She's just smoking in that fucking trailer. She's just smoking nonstop, cigarette after cigarette. And she got these big purple drinks. God knows. And the more that you watch her, the more fucked up she's getting, whether she's getting all fucked up on her scripts or if that's the purple drink. People were speculating, and that's a big thing because of the subculture that have developed around Jody Sue's content. Jody Sue would just sit there and talk at that camera and talk about everything and anything, and it would frustrate the shit out of you because you couldn't figure out what it is that she's talking about. Like, who does that? It's like things like that are just so bizarre. I don't know if any of what she was saying there was any truth to it, but it was just not random stuff. I don't want to say that because she was pulling it from somewhere, right? That's a whole that's a whole separate probe. What was she talking about? Whoever knows, who knows? All of the problems in her life, and everything would come back, what she was saying, and she would relate things back to Andy. And so there's a point where I think the highlight for me was when she was like super paranoid in her trailer, and she was telling everybody that there was somebody following her. This was like an ongoing thing to her, and on the channel, and there's people out there, and she's broadcasting, yelling at cars going by. I'm not laughing at somebody's mental, decline. That's not where I'm going, but the way that she was doing it was so fucking funny. She was dead set that it was the person, like it was one of the content creators that is supposedly she's accusing of stalking and harassing her, and it's just all playing out through her phone. She did a hell of a good job hosting this little situation. So she really has the viewer wondering WTF. Speaking in code, Jen R. Yeah, she's speaking in that holler code back there. That's really what it seemed like. You knew that people who knew her probably knew what she was talking about and already know how she is, a little bit like we do now. We just think we know her just because we have experience with her. We don't actually know Jody Sue personally. Probably sink a knife in your back. But she didn't have a problem doing things, right? Like, think about, I'm not trying to put blame on her or anything, but she's the one that would bring up suggestions like, because Andy sell a little weed around the holler to his friends, the question arose, just how far did that go? And was it a factor up there considering how fucked up everybody is? And you can't figure out if it's because of the substance or if it's just because of how they are, and the substance is just helping their already degenerate lifestyle. It's hard to tell. I'm trying to be nice because there's kids involved in that sense. I feel really bad for the boys. Like, that's heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to see Don and Candace fuck with such a large amount of people in that sense, pretending that they're going through the motions to get the boys back, and then just putting the blame back onto the system without, making the effort and cleaning up their act and getting their life back in order. They chose to not do what was set out for them in order to get their kids back, no matter what it was. They chose not to get their kids back. They chose not to get their kids back. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think you could simplify it with that. It doesn't sound very nice. So that makes them a total of 9, I believe, 9 children that Candace has lost to the state, lost to the system throughout her life. She's always been in these cycles, getting in probably with the same abusive type of older man. Probably started doing that in her carny days. It just makes me really sad. They did nothing to get the boys back, Lindy, right? And it's amazing to me in the moment, like on YouTube, what they were using YouTube for to garner, donations in order to help get their kids back, to buy paint, to buy proper furniture, and they're just taking it all in. How about a little update for everybody? You didn't even paint a goddamn wall. What the fuck? They did a little bit. I think they cleaned and straightened things up. I think it just comes in their nature, and they're well engaged in things that you don't want the public to know about, like the fact that you have sex with everybody in your family. It has to come with a bit of conditioning where it's just something that you don't tell the enemy. And when the enemy is the police or the system, it's not too difficult for everybody to maintain that sort of lifestyle, I'd say. Yeah, they fixed the stairway a little bit. I couldn't fucking believe it. First thing she's showing Chris is the big hole underneath her fucking house. Oh, that's where all the dogs stay. They just had a bunch of puppies. There's already fucking like 40 dogs out there. This pack of roving fucking dogs. I couldn't believe the pack of roving wild dogs. That says so much about their mental state, in my opinion. Could you fucking imagine having those fucking dogs just running around, coming in, coming out whenever they please? It's like all of the artwork with the dogs sitting around playing poker and doing their thing in the men's room. Those old pictures of dogs doing things. Don fucking hates them, kicks them. But some of the stories that we come to learn about Don, of course, make him out to be the type of person that Candace was out, ending up with historically. But Don, he's got a history of line crossing, sexual boundaries, women's random strangers' underwear drawers, SA, a long history of SA on his own family. Candace's mom's brother is Wisconsin's second most dangerous sex offender. That comes right out of Chris McDonough's mouth. I love the way that he phrased that. I heard that today earlier. I got to laugh. Not that that's funny, but I thought, what a fantastic description. And he's talking about Warren Hare. Yeah, remember when we got the information on Warren Hare for the first time? Our minds were fucking blown. Like, he's violating laws. He scares the fucking system. It's like they were terrified of having to release this guy. They kept him in a goddamn a home, but it's not there's nothing productive helping him there. It's just a home to keep him the hell away and locked up away from everybody else. It's probably an old, dilapidated, broken down a mental asylum, but they're not asylums anymore. They're still there. It's probably an old one of those. They just locked him in there and left him, stuffed him in some cheese sandwiches every now and then. But God knows we didn't know all of the stories about why it is that he's in there. No, I'd say what again? I just talked myself out of something. It wasn't intentional. Is a linguistic slip up. JLR gave us a great look at where Warren is located. Oh, did he? Slim? Who? Oh, by the way, talking about JLR, just shit that's been popping up on my YouTube. I click on it the odd time. This true crime con just happened. And JLR was with some dude that was filming him, and they were doing this back and forth interview. Has anybody seen that? Who was this guy that was stalking JLR at CrimeCon? It sounded a bit like, I didn't know. I was trying to match the voice because I'm sure I would have thought it would be somebody I might know. But then I got to learn that there's a whole subculture of hate about JLR and what it is that he's doing out there. I was listening to this Australian gal this morning too. So there's a whole little subculture all focused on on JLR and his content, trying to call him out. Fucking famous now, bro. Who was the most dangerous guy again? Oh, Warren Hare. Oh, well, yeah, Adele. Warren Hare, that's Wisconsin's second most dangerous registered sex offender. This goes far beyond just committing a crime. This guy's been deemed a psychological danger to the public by the courts. They've had to go above and beyond what's already written. This guy's his own case law. That's how fucking crazy it is. Heaven's sakes. What the hell was he doing? Everything, it sounds like. Yeah, Michelle, you didn't realize that there's a group of onliners that don't like Nor. Yeah, Chris McDonough is shocked to see this criticizing him. Well, you should have seen it at the time. Yeah, you should have seen it at the time. Benny was trying to take him down. He got Chris McDonough's channel taken down, which it was only down for a few days. It ended up, but for a few minutes there, Chris McDonough was so desperate he was on a phone call with old AB trying to sort things out. It was a group call on Discord trying to figure out how he doesn't know much about YouTube, but he was helpless for moments, and unfortunately, it ended up being a dirty, a situation of being underhanded behavior. It wasn't anything legit in that sense. People are different, right? People have different ways of expressing themselves. See, I can understand why there would be hate against Chris McDonough. He's a cop, number one. I could see where people might not like Chris McDonough in law enforcement. Here's a former detective, a detective trying to press you in front of a fucking camera and make you essentially do things that are going to make you lose your job. From a person, no matter what it is, what you're doing, it's just going to be a pain in the ass. So not everybody's like that. But again, Chris McDonough does a lot of work with the Cold Case Foundation and things like that. So he does all kinds of multi-layered things. I'm not saying he's godsend. People make mistakes. Detective makes mistakes. He's made mistakes. Because that's all online, he's able to be criticized and scrutinized. So people gather to that, especially in these circumstances. They want to use it against them. That's what you're here for. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I liked it because, well, I'm not going to lie. I like gonzo investigative journalism. And people want to constantly bring up whether he's crossing boundaries and want to stand on their moral high ground. All in these situations, I think Chris McDonough did the right thing. And no matter what, because, he opens himself up for criticism, I think he can handle it. It doesn't seem to be much of a bother because he recognizes the reason why he's doing it in the first place. And we're all critiquing, watching it anyway. So I'm not trying to throw shade on the guy at all. I'm glad he went down and did this in this circumstance because we all recognize what the problems are and how people use the system to fuck them, or to try to get out of situations they don't want to be held accountable to, especially when it comes to murdering their own kids and being responsible, criminally responsible for that. Chris McDonough's actions is just great in relation to that alone. And for that, I'm grateful of the content that he brought. Not because the content is the right thing to do here. It's not my argument. There's always exceptions. There's exceptions to everything. When there's lies about, especially when the public is being lied to, being a mirror in that situation and going in, under the guise that you're helping, because why wouldn't you be helping? Remember, you guys are so fucking innocent. There's really no reason to be mad at Chris McDonough. Well, wouldn't you know it? When Chris McDonough turned around and did these three uploads, and the first one, can't remember how that went. Was it the first one? It was the interview with Candace, and it was a later one where there was a two-parter. There's the tour of the house, and then there was around the house, and Chris McDonough was telling us, or telling me off the record in that sense. I'm not afraid to say it now. He won't care about his suspicions about Don being in that white shed while he was there. You know, picking up as a detective, picking up this. I'm not saying Chris McDonough is always right. We always see Chris make mistakes all the time, you know, in things, and, you know, he's no different than anybody else, but I trust him when he has a suspicion up, him and his wife, they're there, and they have a suspicion of the shed over there that Don, he can't go in there because Don's in there. There's all kinds of little structures during their tour around there. And they cleaned that place up, and we were shocked at that tour. We would be even more shocked if we saw a picture of the place earlier than that, Jody says. And if you go back on Google Earth, you could see it back during the date. They've been up there. They were up there looking after, was it Don's mom? Don's mom left him the house. So I don't know. There's a lot of secrets and a lot of things that we don't know in Don's history, like all of the things that he was getting away with. Look at the stuff that he was convicted in jail for. People want to package that up in their mind and think, oh, it was one and done. And what about all of the shit that he was already doing that he didn't get, you know, arrested for? We heard two very brave people in his family, stepsisters, come forward and tell their stories. And Chris helped with that. Mary Hartman and her sister had unfortunate interactions with Don when they were younger. And they felt it was so important at this point in time during Summer's disappearance to come forward and tell their stories. And it tells a very important story as to the caregivers of Summer Wells. Summer's own father is a predator. There's nobody really in that around there. Oh, it scares me to think about what was really going on, you know, about knowing into people's private lives like that. You know, as much as we want the truth and all of the information, we can anticipate a little bit of the probabilities of what's going on. Imagine, no matter what that information is, I imagine that we'd be shocked to know what was really going on in Don Wells' mind in all of this. He doesn't seem to have any boundaries in that sense, especially when it comes to protecting his own children, ever. And it was a mistake for people not to talk about it a lot earlier. And that's the threshold that the sisters brought. So no matter what, that's out on the table now because of the sisters' story. It's a relevant topic. It's not just a bunch of people hating against Don and Candace on social media, making it up and throwing it against them like they would otherwise want to use as their excuse or rationale as to why, you know, that's a topic in the first place. Panty sniffing bastard, Don. Slim, you do wonder what Don's jail and prison calls and incident reports are? What makes you think there are any? How long was Grandis living on Ben Hill Road in that RV with him? That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the exact answer to that. A long time. I'm trying to think about at least 18 months that I can go in my mind, like more than 18 months. Like she went through some different periods there. She seemed to be there, if you can believe it, to help support Candace. They end up fucking, can you imagine your mom and your grandma fighting over some fucking dude that they just randomly brought home? Oh my God, AB Slim says he got busted for stealing and sniffing those panties on my birthday. Well, that's one hell of a coincidence. That's a synchronicity. Well, I'm sure they are, Queez. So this Ronnie Lawson, we had some interesting statements out of Ronnie Lawson's mouth. Well, we'd have to think this is a situation that's going to be built on circumstantial evidence. It's just another thing for the triers to take into consideration at a later date. So this, well, needless to say, Don and Candace have YouTube accounts, and they've, Candace used to upload all kinds of drunk themed content. She should have been an IRL streamer. Yeah, Bonnie. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of eerie similarities to Jack and Lily. They're not eerie in that it's eerie that they're similar. There's reasons why they're similar because of the situation that the parents are in over the kids and what it is that they say for themselves. And eerily, there's always similarities, and there's similarities to different situations. It's important to say that because, or why they should be important in your mind specifically is so that you can figure out how exactly they're investigating it at any one time. Not like there's some sort of magic woo-woo eeriness going on. That I'm not even going to say that. RL quiz. Who's RL? Who's RL? You've got me. Fuck. I know I should know that probably. Let's go over and take that tour. So listen, we are here updating, but it's not necessary that we read all of the news to update you. Just gonna frustrate you a little bit. I'm trying to give you the simplified version. But what I was talking about Ronnie Lawson, he said some significant things in the grand scheme of things, really, that parents were not being cooperative. We all know why, but at the end of the day, they still need to piece this investigation together. What was disappointing to hear is how it's complicated because Ronnie Lawson's office, those sheriffs there, it doesn't seem like, they were as excited to tackle this case. They're talking about this is the type of situation that usually goes to grand juries. And that was hopeful a long time ago. Well, if you're at that point to say that, you would think that it would progress to a grand jury pretty soon. You're dropping something. So I'm skeptical about this particular case file. I know they'll have a reason for it. Hold on. Let's go have that tour right now. By the way, Mary Hartman is up on this panel. This is from a couple years ago. Mary Hartman's up on this panel. She's about to share in this statement her experience with that fucking perv Don Wells. You can hear it right from her mouth. Mary has a cooking channel here on YouTube. Mary Hartman's. If you search in YouTube what is it? I'm subscribed to it and I forget what it's called. She's changed the name of it a couple times, but it's actually really good and she's really talented and she has some fantastic recipes. So, I mean, what more could you ask for? And great ideas, by the way, on her channel. It was interesting that she started up a cooking channel. It, she's the opposite of a lol cow in that sense. They're actually really interesting. Good for some ideas. I'm a sucker for some cooking channels. Let me see here.
Oh, that's just one of them what do they call these? Oh, this is a little pony brace. Boy, I'm.
So as Chris is pulling up here, there are at least close to a dozen dogs. You can hear them here. And the day that Summer went missing, Dawn has stated that the dogs were nowhere to be found.
Is that a way of explaining why they didn't bark?
Yes. At a stranger, because they claim stranger abduction.
Chris, remember the Sherlock Holmes story about Silver Blaze, where Sherlock Holmes deduces that it was an inside job because the dog didn't bark?
Yeah. I've said that for quite some time, that the the silent witnesses on a lot of these cases. I think, remember we talked about when you nailed Koberger before they arrested him? We also talked about the dog in the house.
Yeah.
He's going to be that, silent witness with hair, et cetera. But yeah, no, I love it.
Gotta love dogs.
Here we go. Yeah, those dogs were going nuts.
Rightfully so. Now, this sits on the top of a very, I would consider it a very steep hill, by the way. It's, very secluded. The neighbors are quite a ways away. You would need a reason to drive up there.
I have much more respect for what you're telling me by standing here. Yeah. And I got my little camera here. But I'm looking at this terrain and I'm going, holy cow, she could have even, there's a million possibilities here. Yeah, down there, and there's the road down there.
Yeah, that's the road. That's my mom's house.
Okay.
Like literally, it's.
And this right here.
Usually you can see the road because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day though, how was it? Was it full up or was it like this?
That day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here.
Yeah, I see those the path down there. I see the tracks down there.
Yep.
You over there.
And they were all the way up here to my light pole.
Okay. And you told TBI all this, right?
I told TBI this, yes.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, I can see the cars going by. That is not far from your.
Yeah, sorry, I got mixed up there. A screen popped up I couldn't get rid of. I was frozen. I'm still here. Your screen probably went wonky on me. Good to see you, Brenda Chic. Welcome in, friends.
Your property. Is there a holler down there? I mean, is there a river of some sort?
The creek runs all the way around the property.
And how deep is the creek? Okay, just so it's like an inch, inch or two. Okay.
You'd be lucky to get wet enough to do anything.
Okay. All right, so let's pick it up from where, and I'm going to just use this little one. Is that okay? Okay, so from where, when you got home, now she's leaning.
My mom's truck parks here.
Okay, your mom's truck's right here.
Yes.
Okay, so when she's leaning against the milk. Is she sleeping?
She was sleeping, yes.
Okay.
So it still bothers me, this milk jug photo that she took on the way home. You've got 4 cold milk jugs that you just took out of the reefer at the grocery store, put them in the back, and there's a child sound asleep on them with a coat on after going swimming. Like, it's just not right. It's what makes things off. Like, first of all, isn't that a little cold? Like, it's uncomfortable to your senses when you put your face up against a cold milk jug, like especially when you're a mini human and you're 5 years old. That milk jug is huge. And she's all wrapped up in that sense. It just seems so off. It's such a bizarre photo. Why were her fingernails and lips so blue, Chicken Whisperer? Well, a lot of people interpret it that way. I'm not going to speak about that. You know, I don't want to tell you one way or the other. You can look at the photo. Could be because she's fair-skinned. There's all kinds of reasons for it. I couldn't pick up anything. There wasn't anything noticeable to me. But to other people, they could consider that to them. So I don't like to get in that argument necessarily. Yeah, the whole narrative spun. It stunk to high heaven, Queese, absolutely. And Kimberly Elton, listen, I'm not even coming down on you for asking that question because it comes across people are eager to ask me all the time in my honest opinion. I don't like that term, in my honest opinion. And I don't like talking ever about what I believe happened to any one of these kids. Never. It's unnecessary in my mind. We're here to look solely at the facts. The facts point to what happened to the children. You know, by examining the facts and going on to the next steps, we can come to a conclusion at some point in time. But it's not my place, man. I'm not getting out here to disinform people on purpose because all a person is going to do is speculate and start guessing about all the possibilities. Sometimes you can get there in the conversation should you ever get to that point. But I hate that question for that specific reason. I don't hate you, Kimberly Elton. Don't even think that, girl. That's not what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying come in here. I'm not saying don't come in here and ask me those questions. I'm not raging out. It's a good opportunity to remind people. And I'm not just trying to virtue signal. It's just something that's uncomfortable. That's not why we're here. It's not why I'm here, excuse me. There's so much to talk about all the time about the specific facts of the case that paint a picture that should give you a direction as for the risk factors and the probabilities as to what could have happened. Everybody can think about that in their own mind while they analyze what's up. Oh, no. Did you ask that too, Soldier Girl? I love you too. Damn you. I love you, Soldier Girl. You know that. No, I'm not. I know that it never comes out right. I don't know, but there's no other way to say it. Nobody wants to hear some fucking random dude opinionate all over the hell about what he thinks. Like, that's pontificating. That's bullshit. You know, I don't like to waste people's time. You do that. I'm not saying don't do that. We all do it. We all do it in our private minds to ourselves. But I don't think that's very good content, or it doesn't translate well. Doesn't mean that we never ever get to the point of talking about what happened. But it's just, and it's not very classy. We need to, you need to be as sensitive as possible, and you can never be too sensitive. There never is a good enough. There never is enough. Each and every one of these situations violates the hell out of people's otherwise quiet lives. And you're intruding, and you're at very least fitting the bill of the minimal exploiting a situation. Whether you do it for whatever reason. Not that should outweigh the necessity to bring facts forth in a crime that's been committed online. That's of public interest, but you can be at least considerate to that degree. You know, Chris, not Chris. That's all. I think I'm clear. Don't even let it bother you. I love you anyway. That's the reason I don't answer it. So, forgot what I was going to say now. Those dogs, there's a lot more than that to start. And then they went out there. First, they're canvassing for dog food. They had piles of dog food at the end of the driveway. People donating all kinds of things to them because, of course, somehow this translates into them being victims. And it goes for mentioning Rose Meyer's name because right from the beginning, when I say the beginning, before Candace even came out, Rose Meyer was up there on Facebook in what they had, the family only Facebook group, sharing all of their information, including banking info, check info, so that all of these places could just slip the money right into their account. Oh, they had everybody, they were right on for what they had to do. And wouldn't you know it, this Rose Meyer was so involved way back in 2008 or 9 when Rose Bly went missing. She was her Candace Harris Senior. She was her confidant. She's her friend. And I'm telling you right now, I've done this before, but she's a spitting image physically to Rose Meyer. Or to Rose Meyer is a spitting image to Rose Bly in that sense. There's a lot of similarities, but they're ginger in that sense. Of course, you probably see all the differences if you knew them. That stood out to me in the beginning. Not that it's anything; it's just a bit of information.
From exhaustion from that day?
Yeah, she was. Where I woke her up early, and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk bottles get rearranged? Hunter said he had them on the floor, and then he put them next to him.
They weren't.
No. Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. What's a black tote she had in there?
Okay. Was there? Where's that tote at?
I think actually my mom's got it still in her truck. It's got a bunch of crafts and stuff in it.
Okay, got it. And now
So there's Grandis's trailer right there. That's the Shagnasium. This old woman, this nasty old woman with a gimp leg, is sexually active at her old age, all fucked up on pills in that trailer. Probably just like she's always been. She is not a nice individual. Does that seem harsh? Maybe it does, but she's not a very nice individual, and I'm not even making things up. Grandis around that home is just as much of a contributor to the delinquency that was going on and being transferred onto all of the minors on the property, all of the four kids that were there, and Andrew's kids, because of their on again, off again friendship with let's say, when I say friendship, I say manipulative relationship that they had with Sherry Delaney and, God rest her soul, Sherry's daughter, who is Hunter's mom. But they had a personal relationship up there away from the parents with Hunter and his sister. It was a trigger for some of Don's rages. But everybody around in that hall or immediately around them all consider Candace to be a pedo herself. There's a lot of suspicions around there of boundary crossing sexually with underage people.
When you pulled up, did she just fall asleep next to that?
She fell asleep, I'd say maybe 5 minutes on the road.
Okay, got it. And then, so walk me through, you get home, you take the groceries inside. Is Don home, by the way?
No, he's
Okay,
not.
okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard with this lawnmower.
Oh my God. No, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Not in here. That's so funny. Who said that? That just made me laugh. I got to read this comment. Who just said that trailer is a lot nicer than Janie's? There it is. Fishing in a boat. It's nicer than Janie's. Ha 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 ha. Hell yeah, it is nicer than Janie's. Probably gets a lot more action in there too. Not to make a joke out of it. But it's interesting. There's another interesting parallel. They've got the old lady out in the parking lot, locked up in a trailer. It's not unheard of. Like, people have little, mother, they have a name for it. Little, like 1 or 2 bedroom, small apartments onto your house. It's for your mother-in-law's suite. You can rent them out, but they've got a whole trailer in the parking lot looking after the old lady, and she's, predating around there with all kinds of weird fucking drunk dudes that come in the vicinity in the middle of the night, just stroll into the yard. She gets them in there and bangs the hell out of them. What the fuck's her problem? She's a whore. And everybody knows it. Hunter's talking about it. And a kid is talking about it. A teenager. Granny Flats. Yeah, thanks, Jen. How fucking grossed out would you be if that happened to you? If you were in Jose Roman's position and all of a sudden, even Hunter's mom was there. That's the reason why they fell out and left that particular day. Because they were fighting over Jose. Jose had to tell them that he likes chicks with dicks. They're going to have to accept it. I knew what pills. I think her and Candace went and got pills that day of the disappearance as well. They objectified those around them, evidently. That's what it seems. And they had this scam going. Jody Sue was talking to us about it. She was offered, to get into the scam that Don and Candace had going on with all of these different churches of different religions around the area. They would get into a church and get friendly and extract all of these donos under the pretense of being, in need. Then they end up wearing out their welcome and being asked to leave. Then Don, that's when he switched to the Seventh-day Adventist church. I think he ran out of all of the Baptist churches, and now he's on to the Seventh-day Adventist. He's had some discoveries. His fake religion is just so profound, friends. It sticks out like a sore thumb at every angle. That's where he goes when he feels the heat is on, when he gets psychologically stressed or pressed in that sense. Then it goes to prison religion. And it never makes any sense. On purpose. So you could consider Dawn partially to be malingering. Go to church to get free stuff. Exactly, Queez. Yeah, she's got all of these. Candace is driving around. The first thing that she did was brag about it to Jody Sue Brown when they first met. Oh, God.
But I opened the doors and I shook her. I said, "Wake up, we're at home." She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, "Come on." I said, "Mom, I'll be right back."
That statement to me stands out still after all of these years. She says that Summer jumped right up. as though she's already anticipating the people's suspicions in that sense. You know, considering considering how bizarre that situation is, with her drifting so soundly to sleep on the way home on freezing cold milk jugs. She just pops right up when she gets there. Pop right up like nothing, right? It's a bit suspicious there, honey, as in, I don't believe it happened. There's a good possibility that it didn't happen in that sense. I shouldn't go that far. It just stands out. Y'all know Don is a Satan worshiper. He is not fooling anyone, Soldier Girl. Oh yeah. He's walking around with those Hail Satan fingers. I've always thought that Candace and Grandis were using not planting flower pots that day. I wonder if that ticked Don off as well. Oh, you've always thought Grandis and Candace were using not planting flowers. Well, what do you define as using in this situation? They're already got a tolerance for all of the pain pills that the old lady needs. She's got some scripts. Maybe, you know, we're doing some mental gymnastics there, but like, it's their everyday routine is not healthy. You know, usually like this disappearance was really biting into Candace's drinking time. Like her happy hour usually starts right around sometime in the time between 3:30 and 6:30 when she called 911. Now, what the hell happened during that time period? Nobody can figure out, including old Candace is refusing to talk about it. That's not suspicious as fuck. That's sarcasm, by the way. Of course it's relevant. Interesting how these timelines have huge holes in it. Is this giving you hope out there, Janie? Is this giving you hope that a shitty timeline like this is floating in Tennessee, that you're going to get away with it too? I think not. We can't think that way. We know that Don was reckless with his money. Ruggs would go do his own thing. Yeah, he'd do that too. Remember when he took off down to Nashville on that crack binge? He loves crack. Here's a little something for you. Remember when he first came out, he used to pretend that he wasn't even in the know as to what these particular substances were. He'd never even heard of them. He associates all kinds of stereotypes. Then the more you get to know them, finally it just comes out and says, yeah, I love crack. I've got my dealers going, you know. He goes from denying it to just embracing coming out and acknowledging his struggles with the substance to begin with. Well, his criminal history speaks for itself, so it's a topic. But it's interesting how he introduced himself in that way. He was misrepresenting. He was lying. Of course, we know that. We recognize that. But it's him doing what he thinks he needs to do in the moment. And his choice to embrace it is more important than denying it at that point in time, even though it's a big inconsistency and it's a big signal that this asshole is lying to us from the get-go about everything else. Like, he's lying about everything and we can sense that, but it's just an example of how he treated one little angle. He's fucking slick. But it doesn't matter, that you and I and everybody at home know that he's lying. It matters what's going on in the investigation. But again, it's worth mentioning.
Went in there and he got the boys, and they were sitting at the table. And I said, come on, let's get the groceries out. And we brought them all in the house, went through them all, did all that.
And this is that's her swing.
That's her swing right there.
Come show me her swing. Why is this, and who's this?
That is Smoking Boots. That's my boy's cat.
And how many dogs do you have here on the property? About.
Honestly, I don't know because people just keep dropping them off.
Hi. I know. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So this is her swing.
That's her swing.
This is her playground.
Yep.
And she loved this area. Boy, you know, I'm looking at this, and this terrain, Candace, just strikes me as being so dense and just. Is that they say the dog trail? Where's this dog trail thing? That
I'm not sure, honestly.
there's so many of them.
The dogs go in every different.
Yeah,
way.
I saw the dogs came out of the woods as we were pulling up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do that all the time.
Chris, can I
Okay.
say something really fast?
Oh, that's Mary.
That
Go
dog
ahead,
trail
Josh.
that Chris was just asking about has been a significant point of contention because Don says that they must have escaped down the dog trail, or that they could have, even though Candace doesn't know that there's an actual dog trail.
Right. I understand. And Chris, that dirt road, when you're walking on it, were you paying attention to whether you leave footprints in the road?
Yeah, well, it was a partiality of rock / dirt type of situation. This is about 3 weeks after she went missing. That I came in about 3 weeks after. Greg had called me and
Right. It could have rained. It could have if
Right.
there had been prints or something there. You're saying?
Yeah, we don't know, at that point. But when we did the initial assessment, Gary, early on, from CCF's position, we came to the conclusion that this is such a high risk for a stranger situation, and the closest RSO is about within a mile over that range, but the whole area has some RSOs in it, and of course the card team came in within a day or so and immediately did the assessment that it's not, in their opinion, it's not a stranger abduction. So the secondary question was, okay, well, is this an accident, or is it intentional in relationship to something or somebody in that house, or had a familiarity to somebody in that house? And we came to the same conclusion.
I think I independently would have come to the same conclusion, because the type of abduction that's being depicted would be committed by a local sexually perverse offender. If you were to profile it, right? I mean, there's no conversation, there's no grooming. You just walk in the door, you grab a kid. This would be an odd, local pervert, that kind of thing. So the looking at the local RSOs was very smart, because they'd be your prime suspects. But there's no evidence of anybody going in that house or any motive to do so, other than taking the kid. So that it makes the most sense to think either that the kid wandered off. There's no evidence of that, right? No birds coming around, no body found, nothing, or that there was some inside reason for doing so. And when it's an inside thing, the most likely explanation is that there was a reason to eliminate. That either something got too emotional and somebody died, or you eliminate them intentionally because they're an impediment or a witness or something like that. We don't know for sure, but it is intriguing. It's delightful, by the way, to meet you, Mary.
Oh, you too. I'm glad to meet
you. I know you know these guys, but I haven't met you yet.
Yeah, I've heard so much about you.
Oh boy. Well, that's, my ears are ringing. But yeah. Well, I think that it's wonderful that you can give, really firsthand kind of insight into the personality, the character of the people that we're talking about, and the personalities of the people we're talking about. And I don't know if, Chris, if you want to sort of let Mary go to town on that, or if we want to keep going through the video.
Well, Gary, can I ask you a question really fast? In all of your years of cases,
yeah,
how often do child predators steal children on a dead end road? Is that something?
Well, this is the problem. There are different types of people who take children, right? There are disorganized offenders and organized offenders. the person who would do that would be somebody who wasn't particularly clever or organized. You'd have to be a pretty dopey person to do that because you're eliminating your escape abilities and all that. But you'd also have to be somebody that knew that there was a kid there. I mean, the whole thing is this is the problem. You'd have to be, on the one hand, somebody organized enough to be like scoping the place out and know that the kid is there, right? That you have to go down that place and take the kid, and this is how you're going to do it without leaving any traces. But you'd also have to be disorganized enough to be the type of person to take the type of kid. So unless you're dealing with a mixed offender or two offenders working together where one is organized and one isn't, the profile doesn't add up. It sounds like a phony story, because if you've worked with enough offenders that you know that like these traits shouldn't coexist in the same person, right? I mean, Chris, wouldn't you say it doesn't match? There's organized qualities, but you'd have to be pretty organized to do it like that.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I've been saying from the beginning. I haven't left the house because of just that. To your point, Gary, because
that makes sense. Yeah,
it just did. Not only did it make sense, the risk level coming into that property, the universe would have to be on schedule 100%. That they would have known, that individual would have known this 5-year-old was going to be in that basement at that time.
Right, not just the house.
Right.
That's right.
A basement. Yeah. And then nobody there, Gary, it's Dr. Gary, there are 5 people that were there that we know of that admit to being there in the middle of the day, and the dogs make no noise. Whoever stole her they couldn't have went through the house because the boys were in there, and you'll see why as when we go inside. But then there's this back door that allegedly was locked, but this perpetrator would have had to have known that she was in the basement at that time, and then know that it was unlocked, and while not triggering anybody's attention.
Right.
Including 13 dogs.
They have to be an organized enough offender that they left not a trace of evidence, right? Nothing. So we're being asked to believe that this is an highly organized, meticulous person who also has disorganized elements, like doing it was broad daylight, right?
Yeah.
It's in broad daylight.
Yes,
right there, and probably a local, because like they knew this house, they knew the area, the whole thing. And they just wander in and snatch a kid and walk right out the door and leave no mess. I mean, the elements don't make sense together unless you have two different offenders. One is organized, one's disorganized, or it's not true. It's just that there are problems with that story from a profiling perspective. And what sounds, a lot more likely is that somebody who isn't particularly sophisticated cooked up a ridiculous story.
Yeah,
that would be my guess, Chris. I mean, but I can't prove it.
No, we get it, and we appreciate your insight. So let me take you into the house, and then we want to hear from Mary.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to see the basement.
So do I.
I want you to see the point of exit, point of entrance. And so let me get back over here real fast, and I'm gonna get to the basement.
That trail right there. My boys, they ride those dirt bikes that are leaning against the truck over there.
Okay.
You can see there's one of them.
Okay.
And
those are like 50 cc's, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one ain't. I think it's only like 25. I think.
So I'm gonna forward to the house here.
In the basement.
Got it. Okay. So what happens when she comes in? The boys are playing where?
No, the boys are actually sitting here.
Okay.
And they're actually sitting right here at the table watching TV.
Okay, so they're at the table watching TV. Okay.
They were all locked in. Nobody could get in. Nobody could get out.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Now, who's this on up here?
That's my little sister that's missing.
Oh, that's Rose.
That's Rose.
That's missing.
Oh, wow.
She's missing.
Wow. And who's the guy?
That's her ex-husband.
Wow. Do you think he had anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Can't say.
How's your mom deal with that?
It's difficult.
Yeah, I know. I know, right? So, okay, watching TV. Where's Summer?
Summer, she was with me.
Okay, so walk me through that.
All right. Well, we walked up in here and we got Josie, Wyatt, and Waylon, the boys.
Right. You put the groceries down, right?
Yeah. Well, we went back out and then we brought the groceries in and put them down. And then mom, she went and took her stuff to her house, put her stuff away.
Okay.
And then, of course, me and Summer went back over, put our stuff away.
Okay. You went back in.
Yeah, me and Summer went back in the house. And then we were just doing normal stuff.
Okay.
Around the house like we normally do. And I come out, mom was sitting there at the time I come out and I'm standing here. I was like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? She's like, these plants, I gotta get them transplanted. I was like, well, Summer will help us. So I went back in. By that time, she was sitting on the floor playing with her toys.
Right here?
No, in the kitchen where we were just at.
Okay.
She was actually sitting on the floor playing with the toys at that time. I said, Summer, you want to help plant flowers? And she jumped up, left her toys and us, of course. That's cool.
Yeah,
Then we
well,
walked
that's
over
what kids do. It's their job.
What?
Okay.
We walked over here and we transplanted these cactuses from the little pots that they were in. And transplanted these ones here into this bigger pot and that one into that bigger pot. And then she took the rocks that we've gotten from different gem mines when we went up to Gatlinburg and stuff.
Okay.
And she's the one that spreaded all the rocks around in here. And then she put her puppies in here. She wanted Chase in there, you know.
Okay.
That was cool.
Where are those puppies now?
What do you mean?
Yeah, Adele. The call hasn't been to 911 released. The call out has. But their actual call to 911, it was interesting the way that they expressed it, because Dawn and Candace both called 911, but they were on the phone with each other at the same time. So they say. In my opinion, they're intentionally trying to confuse the time and, to add more layers there. Yeah, Corey. She called Dawn first. Isn't that so bizarre, Corey? That it's such a strong indicator that something else happened. There's an emergency and we got to figure out together what we're going to do. I call you first, rather than an emergency that you recognize right away as a parent what the danger is. There's no way that you would call your loved one over 911 first. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a point. We kind of know that, I guess, or feel that. I know that we feel alike. Who's Donnie? Don Wells. Donnie or Donna. Right, she called Don and he said he immediately got in the Subaru from the work site. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to speak to that earlier, I'm not sure who brought that up there. Curious. Hey, SR. Jody said she only saw a red flash go up that driveway. Now, that just happened to match the same color as the Subaru Don chose to drive to work that day.
Oh, the little puppies, her ruins.
Yeah, these little.
Oh, yeah, those little guys. Oh, that's Paw Patrol.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the police one.
Yep, that's Chase. He's always on the case.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I see another one over here.
She put him in there. Yep, you're on the cactus.
Okay. Don't take those out, okay?
No, I leave them right there.
I know.
And then we went in my mom's way. We can't get in there.
Yeah, that's fine. Went in there.
We went in there and got some candy and stuff. She gets from grandma.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She wanted to go back, so I said I'd go back, you know.
Okay.
And I brought her, I literally walked over to here. Like, literally walked right to here where I could see the boys and on the kitchen table.
Now, one other thing, Gary, real fast. There was almost a split in the conversation there where she goes, I wanted to go back. She wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to the house. So it's almost as if, she's talking for Summer in relationship to talking for herself. And so you and I both, I think that's deception. That, she's obviously, that part of the story is just not making any sense. So we have the story outside. She's planning these little flower things with the grandmother. Then there's an opportunity to get some candy. And now the child decides to go back into the house. And she decides, well, I better escort her, maybe 30 feet away into the house.
Where's the grandmother, by the way?
The grandmother's there allegedly at the camper. Okay? And the child, when they get home, they were all together. Grandma goes into the camper. They take groceries into the house. The two boys come out, help with the groceries. I mean, there's just so many moving parts verbally from her that it's hard to, really pin it down. But, there's a lot of it that just isn't making any sense.
And all their stories are the same.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
So, how do we know Summer even made it home, Adele? Well, here again, it's worth mentioning. But for the sake of your mind and the investigation, the best that I can do for you to answer that, just like Jack and Lily Sullivan, is that we only have so much, and you have to know what it is that you don't know to comfort your mind in the moment. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt in the Summer Wells situation by saying that she made it home. Many people have brought up ulterior thoughts on that and opinions in the past. But the 3:30 p.m. or the 3:30 image of her on the milk jugs is, the last known footage of her, because there's also a video that goes alongside that. So that was in with the early information that was out there as well. You raise a great question. And I don't want that to seem that she didn't make it home. For the sake of talking about the information as it's presented by the last people to be seen with her, we have to take a certain leap of faith and give them the benefit of the doubt in order to get on with what the fuck is going on here. But really, there's no hard evidence saying that she did make it home. That's where the problem lies in my mind, because here is another big mistake by Candace Bly in my opinion. And that's this 120-second, this 2-minute claim that she made to WJHL, this out there, which tells me that it aligns with what she told the TBI and law enforcement. This 2 minutes with a person like you to identify that is contrary to the type of person she really is. It screams rehearsed. This is a bit staged in this sense. It's easy because it's not easy. It's not easy to solve because everything's circumstantial. There just has to be a certain threshold. It's coming eventually. I wish we knew more. And although I'm skeptical, because 5 years, what the hell is going on type of thing. I'm not skeptical that it's not possible to solve here. I just really wish that law enforcement on the federal level or somebody out there would give some more breadcrumbs. Is that nice enough? I wish that they dropped more breadcrumbs in that sense. The last one that I really recognized was the matchup and the acknowledgement about how significant this last Van Hill Road pig farm search was and its association to the red truck. EquiSearch was out at the horse pond earlier this day, freaked Candace out. Oh yeah, the horse pond down the river in the video. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was interesting. The reaction, that was Midwest EquiSearch. This is so similar to Janie pointing out the non-noisy sliding door with her hand. Listen, you know how stupid of a fucking argument that is in the first place? Think about how stupid that is for them. What they're really doing there is offering you up in your mind how they figure out the rest of their alibi here is solid because you can't hear the door when it slides. Yeah, you can. The whole inside of a fucking 52-foot trailer in May at 0 degrees Celsius, 33 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 changes when you open a goddamn door. The air currents change. Things get sucked out. You hear the low rumbling noise. Yours is probably not in that great a condition. It doesn't have to make a creak or a bang. Every door makes a fucking noise. Every single one. Well, I'm sure there's ones that are made to be absolutely silent on purpose. There's a need for that, perhaps. Isn't that why they have those slow, when you go through the hallways at school, you open up the door and they have those hooks that close behind you, but very softly? You know what I'm saying? There's that click, click instead of the slam, because when you're an excitable teenager, you like to run through those fucking doors and just slam the bar, and it makes all kinds of noise down the hall and it interrupts all of the other kids trying to learn. So they say. I'll get sidetracked again. What's up, Sweet Tea? Good to see you. So what do you see when you get and you take a look 5 years later at the house at 110 Ben Hill Road? I see poor mental health. I see fighting. I'm not trying to do a Zach Jackson here by any means. I'm just saying, what do you see? I see neglect, and there's not a whole lot of motivation to make things better for the other members of your family. Like, it seems like they just, there's a sense of helplessness, and they just have given up, and they have their own habits, and that's all that they worry about. And they try to live out their day. You see substance abuse, Sweet Tea? Yeah, and that goes along the line of the same pattern that we've recognized afterwards, and over the past 5 years of getting to know Don and Candace in their habits publicly and their appearances, right? I feel that we've gotten to know them, not in the way that you would normally think that you would prefer to get to know somebody should you ever have that opportunity in an honest way. You know, because of the situation, it kind of directs people's expectations. With Dawn, it's been very difficult, a difficult thing to come to, but slowly Dawn has come out, and he can no longer play like a moral authority in that sense. And that was broken very early on with all of the, well, specifically what his sisters came out with. And that was my early interaction with Chris McDonough, because he gave me something very special that I'll always hold near and dear to my heart. Thank you, Chris McDonough. And that's that phone call that Chris McDonough, that dirty phone call Chris and Candace gave Chris McDonough after they aired this particular, not this particular one particular live stream of Chris McDonough's, when he talked about what he experienced at their homes. And he talked specifically about Don's sexual proclivities and his degenerate history. Not only his criminal, but his questionable sexual history with his family members and the abuse that was already going on. And he indicated that definitely has a link to the situation Summer Wells found herself in. And Don and Candace fucking lost it on him. Called him up, confronted him in a way that was revealing, psychologically revealing about their true behavior and intent, or whatever it is that they feel that they're getting up to at that moment in time. Essentially, it's exposing them. And that was just right up our alley. And that's what we did. We still got that video in the back. That call. It was a good one. But it's very difficult because it's so laced with profanity. It's not like you get any financial advantage out of it because they don't put ads on it. Not here. Yes, our terrible condition the children lived in. It makes me sad. It makes me really, really sad. Well, the kids always make their own fun. It is such a beautiful place and a beautiful place to grow and have a family out here, especially on that property. And it kind of seems like the kids are doing that with no real guidance around there. It's like a free run. They're absent parents while they're there, preoccupied with whatever's going on, and they blame one another. That's been another pattern that that seemed to have really been consistent in this situation, because they're publicly fighting Don and Candace several times, and they're always fucking drunk in that sense. They don't mind getting in front of that camera when they're all hammered up. In fact, they prefer it. The more that they drink, they probably get at a certain level, and then they turn into movie stars. You remember all the nonsense that Ernie Shell brought the situation? He got some interesting conversations out of Candace. You know, if not sure if you can still go out and get those or hear those, but they're probably out there somewhere in clips.
I was just saying all their stories are the exact same too.
Which has a scripty feeling to it. But wouldn't you say, Josh, that it comes across like somebody who is trying to beat you over the head with the point that they are very maternal.
They're the best parent ever. Yeah.
And very right. It's like I'm just going to keep hitting it up, just in case you missed the point that I'm, mother of the year, that kind of thing.
I can imagine a scenario where anybody, I'm sure there are, but she's probably less than 30 feet from the door. And she says she walks her right over to the door. A 5-year-old, I mean, you can see her walk in, so I found that really weird. But yes, helicopter mom is what it seems is what's being described right here.
Yeah. Right. But the look of the place doesn't match it. I mean, it looks like, it's like a junkyard or something. I mean, it doesn't look like a warm and toasty environment to put together by somebody appreciative of the needs of children. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? This is not Sesame Street. I mean, it looks like a.
And Mary can give us deep insight into that as we go along here.
Fuckers are so judgmental.
So Mary, I love you. You know that, but just kind of hang on for a little bit, because I think what you got to say, Dr. Gary, is going to find fascinating here.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely find it fascinating.
Okay, because we're baptizing him into the Summer Wells case for the first time. So anyway, let's get into the house here for Sodom.
And I watched her walk in there, and afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over. I said, "Quiet," and he looked at me and I said, "Watch Sissy, I'll be right back." And that's when I walked back over to my mom's.
Okay.
And I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, "Well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids." And that's when I come back up into the house.
Okay.
With the boys.
Okay. You walked into the house.
I walked into here. Get up. Get up. I walked in here and them three were sitting right here in row with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, "Boys, where's your sister at?" "Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play." So I went over here like this, because this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now. See?
And then I yelled and I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't. I listened for a minute. I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this. This is how I would get down here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
Do I got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh man, good.
Okay, first I got to tell you, Gary, when I saw that, obviously it was like mind blow. Where are we going here? Because it's going down into a basement that eventually
Don's sex
I
dungeon.
came to the conclusion internally that this is like, it looks just like a dungeon. I mean, it's just not fitting here. But the
Girls
the
Gone
other thing
Wild's
that
going to
I
be on
think
TV in a
folks
second, I
skip
think.
over is in her narrative. She has two narratives. The first one is she immediately goes right to that, entranceway. And the other one is before she did any of that, she did lots of clothes. She washed all these clothes and folded all these clothes. And if you'll notice at our first one that we did, remember at the water hole, she said that she did laundry. And I asked her, I said, yada, yada. And she goes, yeah, I have a lot of laundry, but she leaves that completely out in this narrative here at the house, 100%. Right. But later on, she rediscovers that narrative after watching my video, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And then it kicks back up again.
Tries to fill some time in after the fact of people saying, well, that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of missing time. And then you end up with laundry and lunch planting flowers. But it was just planting flowers at first for like 3.5 hours.
Right. It's interesting. Medieval.
Fucking Josh. Josh, you're like the color commentator, bro.
Punishment is a subject of great interest to me, because offenders in peacetime, ordinary offenders now commit a lot of crimes that look an awful lot like the worst things they used to do in medieval times to people, to punish them and so forth. But those were not ordinary citizens; those were kings and queens and people like that.
Well, think about what the family as it is. Maybe we can answer some of those questions, Michelle. Totally AB, they are comfortable in this dysfunctional, that's their norm, being in this stupor. Could there have been an escalation event? And I know it sounds like we're being overly judgmental, but we're trying not to be. It's a topic because it's relevant to the lifestyle, that led up to this disappearance. It's important. But heaven's sakes. Don is it 20 years older than Candace? Like Don's isn't he even in his 60s now? She was 36 when this happened, and she's preoccupied in grooming a 14-year-old, 15-year-old boy, Andrew's son, while this is all going on. They have, I don't think there's any doubt about it, they're all Don's kids because they all look just like them, spitting images of them. So Don was using her as a traffic stop, so to speak. Don was using her to birth all of his wonder kids that are all named after American outlaws of the late 1800s. So he lives in a fantasy world filled with all kinds of weird sexual deviance, the type that gets you into getting caught breaking into women's homes and sniffing their underwear, stealing them. And he was probably stealing them to wear the fucking things. Crazy. Maybe not so crazy in 2026, but his intent was what was crazy, not the fact that people wear beautiful underwear. He was infatuated with it. Not to mention with all of the shit that he was pulling off as a kid, burning the barns down, banging the dog, performing fellatio on the family dog. That's fucking disgusting, Don. Like, you have no limits. Just think about how bad he gets when he gets a little bit of added courage and enticement in those substances that he takes in his system. He turns into a goddamn monster. This guy, you don't want to be around the house when daddy comes home. He's got a half a fucking gram into him and he's smoking a rock right now. And he's looking to pound fucking anything. He's looking to mount all kinds of different things. Any sort of fucking farm animal. Just imagine what he comes home and he does behind closed doors with his own children. And there's already been talk about, shouldn't even mention that, that translating onto some of the boys' behavior and their immaturity at a young age and acting out.
There is a type of dungeon that's called an oubliette, which comes from the French.
It's a hole in the
word
floor.
To forget. And it was essentially a hole in the ground with a gated front, or top. And the point was that the torture was essentially put a person into this dark, dank hole where you'd forget about them. I mean, that was it. It was basically just like a kind of a solitary confinement torture where there was nothing stimulating and it was dark and awful. And, and I think if I were in this, what looks like oubliette, I think I'd be driven a little batty. I mean, it looks kind of like a psychological torment. I mean, what do you think?
I was floored.
Horrifying. I mean,
and of course, I was in, full investigative mode. So I, kept my composure as,
what kind of a 5-year-old's going to go down there by themselves?
Well, right.
Yeah, it has like the quality of like someone that you just want to toss in the hole and forget about.
You can even hear me when I'm going down. I go, oh man, it struck me, or something to the fact. I made a comment, and I had Karen outside in the truck, keeping an eye on anything that came up behind me. But
she's probably got a loaded 9mm in there.
This is where Summer would have been. This supposedly abducted.
At the time of her disappearance, this is the room she disappeared from.
How many entrances are there to that oubliette there?
One, the top that I'm going down, and two, a door outside exterior.
And the idea is that the door was opened and the person would have.
She claims it was locked.
Yeah, but that the suspect, the allegation is the suspect must have seen her in that basement, came into that door and took her out that door down a dog trail, and disappeared with the child.
And we've just seen how difficult it is to get down into it this way.
On the top.
Right.
Yeah,
and
right.
this is supposed to be easier than coming in the other way, right? Because that's what she says. It would be easier to just go this way than. So what did she mean by that? Like, what was easier about going down this way than going through the door?
Well, and that's why I asked. I wanted to go around. I said, how about if I just go around? Because I wanted to come in from the other side where the suspect allegedly would have come in. And, she said, well, my husband goes down this way, so you can go down this way. So I figured, okay, here we go. And so I went down there. And as I got down, you'll see here in a couple.
He slipped on a condom.
Huh? My husband's 6 foot. I know if he could pay you can.
This. Oh my gosh. Way to go. See, you hear me say, oh my gosh, way to go. Right? Like, what kind of, was this a good decision or a bad decision? Because I didn't know what was down in the bottom. I had no idea. And, I can carry anywhere in the US. I'm HR 218. And I thought, you know what? I left my assistant with Karen in the car. And I'm thinking to myself, well,
Your
that's not
partner.
the sharpest tool in the shed today.
It's a rookie mistake.
You need to call for backup.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so the first thing you see is,
You know, it seems like all of a sudden it seems like that scene from Silence of the Lambs where Jodie Foster is at the outside door of Buffalo Bill, and she comes in and asks him to use the phone. Oh, you want to use the phone? You know how tense that little scene is before she fucking decides to pull out her Glock because she recognizes the type of moth that person keeps was the same moth that they matched from the body of the individual. Oh, it's so intense. Then the fucking lights go out and Buffalo Bill has those night vision goggles on, and you're seeing them go through and chase one another throughout the dark rooms of the house. That's what it seems like.
Girls Gone Wild. It's been determined that's probably what it is on TV. To the left side this is the door that you're looking at to the left. That's the door. And then to the left of that is the bedroom, is the father and mother's bedroom, which is just a mattress on the floor. No door. And to the right of this, behind me, so if I'm looking at this door, right behind me is going to be a bunk beds and the child's beds / playroom.
This is mine.
You were brave to go in there, Chris.
Okay. It's not my first rodeo. You know that, Gary.
Yeah, I know. It's like, won't you come into my parlor? Said the spider to the fly. You know, that
Dude's
kind of
getting
thing.
head.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't walk in there.
If I saw somebody else chained up in there, I would have thought, okay, we got a problem here.
Oh.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where some.
That's her bed. This is the bed. This is everything. This is her toys.
And little Waylon was, because Waylon's only 9.
Okay. Has
And they
CPS
stay
did
down
CPS see this?
Oh yeah, they were supposed to come. The information allegedly that they were supposed to come the day before and the day of the child went missing, and the child went missing. Okay.
Here. And these are all her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves
Okay.
anymore.
And this is all
And
her toys.
these are all her toys. All
What? What a fucking idiot. You hear what she says to Chris? That after she recognized Summer was missing, she got all of the kids and rounded them up and put them down there in the dungeon to be safe. What kind of fucking crazy shit is this? You put them back in the same fucking oven, the same danger zone immediately that you're trying to infer Summer went missing from. How on earth could that possibly be safe, you stupid son of a bitch? Candace, do you hear me? That makes absolute no sense to the story that you want to portray happened to Summer that day. So at the end of it, you should be traumatized about ever going back into that basement again. You're probably snoring right now. You probably got your feet up, laughing, having a good old time down there. Listen, you've just been violated in the worst way imaginable to a normal human being by suggesting that somebody came up there and took Summer out of that basement. And your choice was, after you realized what had happened, Summer was gone, you rounded the kids up, put them in the same fucking place Summer just went missing from, and went on about your business to keep them safe. Now I know you're lying. Not even a stupid person would make that judgment. No fucking sense there, Candace Bly.
One month. Exactly. So anyway, so the first thing you see is, Girls Gone Wild. It's been determined that's probably what it is on TV. To the left side this is the door that you're looking at to the left. That's the door. And then to the left of that is the bedroom, is the father and mother's bedroom, which is just a mattress on the floor. No door. And to the right of this, behind me.
So really, what
I'm
we're
looking at this door right behind me
with
is
this,
going to be
their paper thin alibi is absolute bullshit, and they have the same sort of alibi as Jack and Lily's situation with Janie in the driveway, detached from the house, detached Janie in the alibi, because that third person is so important to corroborate the other story in the moment. Not saying it can't be broken down or proven wrong, but it just gets them through that particular moment.
bunk beds and the child's beds / playroom.
This is mine.
You were brave to go in there, Chris.
Okay. It's not my first rodeo. You know that, Gary.
Yeah, I know. It's like, won't you come into my
So
parlor?
what we're
Spice
getting
and
at,
fly?
or what I'm getting at, is that this whole alibi, this whole story that she's talking about, that this happened in 120 seconds. Okay. And she just was missing, and Candace was just 20, 30 feet away. Fucking bullshit. So you can really kiss that whole thing right out the window. That's a concocted, fabricated story. One needs to put an objective timeline together that looks completely different than what it is Candace claims happened after Summer just popped up in the back seat. She describes it as just popping up. Got her candy. I walked her over to the door and dropped her off in there. She went right down, and then she was gone. And then she packed her other 3 kids up and put them down there too. The danger zone. Doesn't make any sense. This whole situation is fucking bullshit. What really happened? That's what people have been trying to figure out ever since.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't walk in there.
If I saw somebody else chained up in there, I would have thought, okay, we got a problem here.
Oh.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where some.
That's her bed. This is the bed. This is everything. This is her toys.
And little Waylon was. Because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
Has
And they
CPS,
say
did
down-
CPS see this?
Oh yeah, they were supposed to come. The information allegedly that they were supposed to come the day before and the day of the child went missing, and the child went missing.
If what Chris is saying is credible, that's a major piece to the circumstantial evidence, that ball of circumstantial evidence working against them. Like, you can see that why they would have issues with child protective services in that sense. Summer was probably starting to talk, and they were wanting to talk to her, and she was revealing as to probably the abuse that she was suffering by, it sounds like, the hands of her father. Look at the environment that they're in. Why would anybody else? They all are doing their own things sexually, all happy in their own little worlds that they've created. Their worlds of abuse. Grandis is out in the trailer abusing whatever the fuck comes by. Candace abusing everything and betraying her friends in front of her face just to get a little bit of pleasure sexually for the interim. Think about how that weighs in on this relationship with Don. There's probably a reason she's engaged in it, because she knows Don's up to his perverted self. He's out all hours of the night looking in Jody Sue Brown's window, staring at her as she smokes and drinks her purple drink, playing with himself, fantasizing, sniffing panties. You probably ran into Fred Hill out there late at night. Bumped into one another. Strangers in the night. One thing led to another. Next thing you know, they've got all kinds of crazy fucking sexual things going on.
Okay.
Yeah. And these
Maybe.
are all her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves.
Okay.
Anymore.
And this is all
And
her toys.
Them are all her toys. All these
One
toys that are
light.
down here are dang are all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see
Yeah,
that.
I've been collecting from day one. And
Now that's the entrance to the parents' room, and
these are all her little ponies that we
one window
have
that's
bought.
blocked out.
And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds of. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them.
She's picking up dudes at the Dollar General.
Little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called.
She just sits in with all of the
but she
stuffed
liked them,
animals
so I was
and lets whatever
every
dude
time
come
I
up to
was
her.
outside, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know,
She's
whenever I got
selling
money,
herself.
I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her. This is. I understand her now
Yeah.
even better. Thank you.
You know,
This is really important.
But yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get on. I can't get under there.
Yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I look on one side and stand and work. And I don't recall if this was locked or not. I
Okay.
don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know.
So the reason why that I think that is so significant, she tells the authorities.
oh yeah, I believe Jody Sue in that story.
Initially, the door was locked, and in this particular moment, this is her opportunity. I thought to change that narrative. I'm not sure if it was open or if it was locked.
Right. And obviously it only locks from the
Slim, you're saying you've heard Fred Hill has lots of women's lingerie on his property? How do you know that? It makes me wonder if he was dancing around like Buffalo Bill. Well, him and Donnie have another thing in common. Their love for women's lingerie. Dirtier the better. Donnie, I think, likes his poop stained. That's just fucking nasty. That's really fucked up. JSB said Dawn was stalking her story. She convinced me. Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I believe Jody Sue's story too. About their getting to know Dawn. Andy was there for it.
inside.
Yeah. And you'll see her. She's going to lock it. I'm going to walk out. And so this is where the stuff like what happened.
He's going to bail out of there real quick.
Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, And usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay. So this is like her.
Yeah, she
Where
just
she
walks.
come running out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can see the
She'll
path
just go
here.
Right to the swing.
Right. You can see where she could have run.
So essentially, the child comes, during her routine, according to mom, we're hearing it here. She comes out to the side of the house, runs to that tree, and that tree is a swing. And so that's essentially, the story, and they've stuck with that story from day one.
Okay.
And now so let me stop sharing here for a second. Is there anything else you want to see? Do you want me to keep moving or anything else, Gary?
I'm dying to hear from Mary.
Yeah, me too. So let me stop that. Okay. And Mary's at the top, or my mother would never forgive me. And so, Miss Mary, meet Dr. Bricado.
Yes, nice to see you.
A pleasure.
So kind of fill him in the Reader's Digest version of what's been happening in the last couple of days, how you guys kick this off in terms of the second train here, going down the track with what happened to you and your sister. But, just kind of narrow it down if you wouldn't, if that is that okay with you?
Yeah. Do you want to hear about what Donnie's been doing the last couple of days?
So this is where Dawn's sister, Mary, is going to talk about her past experiences with Dawn. They continued to harass Mary for coming out long after. So here we have a lot of the same behavior by way of the suspects after the fact, carrying out different pranks, but forms of harassment essentially against those who came out to speak up against them publicly.
Or
Sure, let's hear that.
well, a couple of weeks ago, and I don't try to call him or anything. I just sit there and all of a sudden my phone starts going off and it's Donnie, And so a couple of weeks ago, and so I don't answer it. And I called Josh because Josh usually will call him and say, well, what's up? Why are you calling Mary? Because he knows that I don't want to talk to him. So, and then when I answer the phone, he just all of a sudden goes off on me, starts calling me names, telling me I'm a lion, bitch, all that. And it's just like, what is your problem, Donnie? Why do you keep calling me? Because you're a lion, and
Also, Mary, and I would just want to say this: a lot of those threats or insults towards her are sexual in nature as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like nobody wants you, but with more detail, things like that. And it goes as low as possible.
Yeah, he started in saying stuff like, the only person that would want me or my body is my ex-husband, and because he was pissed off, because he's like, nobody wanted you, we weren't trying to rape.
So you're wondering about life at home. We know how Don sounds when he calls and yells at people he knows, like, Sister Mary here. The way he attacks her, think about the things that he says to Candace around the boys and around the kids. There's really no hiding in that small, the confines of 110 Ben Hill Road. You're around the kids at all the time. You can't have a moment of privacy around there without everybody knowing what you're doing. But it shows the types of patterns Don focuses on. He's out there pulling from things. What's always on your mind? Sexual things. And he's using and demeaning the other individual in a traditional misogynistic way that's telling about Don's true self in that sense. His true self. Yeah, that word's bullshit though, Anon. That's just a label. Don't ever use that word, bro. There's reasons for people's behavior, but that's part of it, no doubt.
It was him and two of his friends that were ganging up on me, and they were ripping my clothes off. They were getting drunk and getting high, and then they started chasing me around the house, and I'm the same age as Donnie pretty much. We're like a month apart. But, they just started chasing me around and tearing my clothes off. And they caught me in the front room because I ran in the house. And there's two ways to get to the front room at my mom and dad's house, on the side and in the front. So they kind of all three like blocked me in, got me down on the front room floor, and started ripping the rest of my clothes off. And I don't know how I got up, but I did. And I ran into my mom and dad's bedroom and locked the door until my brother got home. And then when my brother got home, he took me to the police station to make a report because, in my opinion, they were going to rape me. So.
And then your stepdad pulled that back the next day.
Yep. The next day, him and my mom were arguing. And he even told me himself, you're going to go down to the police station and you're going to, tell them that it was all a mistake. And, and so I had to. It's like he told me I had to, or he was kicking me out. I was 14 years old. Where was I going to go? You know what I mean? So.
And then, Gary, also something I think it's important for you.
So there's an example. Think about that example and how it impressed upon Don and how to get away with his fucking behavior. Think about the little high that he got from that particular instance and knowing what he could get away with and what people were going to, because of their own lack of caring and concern. They're more worried about how they look as a family and how it represents them and what it's going to do and how much it's going to cost them. You need to self-censor and shut your mouth about your sexual assault. They're not even acknowledging the severity of what went on. You're getting drunk and high and putting yourself on your fucking sister. Doesn't matter that she's your stepsister in that sense. It doesn't matter. That's what you're fucking doing. There's going to be a fucking problem. But her mom let her down, and you know it has to do with the fact of whatever decisions. It was out of Mary's hand. She was pressured in that way by her the people that were supposed, that she thought loved her enough to protect her and back her up in situations in which she needed them the most, like this one she's describing. Look how they betrayed her. And they betrayed her from Don's perspective to save his soul because he's such a good guy. He's in the right. Don's never in the right. He was a fucking cocksucker. What he did in his behavior exposed the problem within a family that they chose to not do anything about because they couldn't be asked. They couldn't be bothered. Man, how traumatizing that would have been alone, other than the assault that she went through with Dawn. That makes me feel really sad. I'm sorry, Mary, that you went through that.
To understand before you weigh in, is her sister, Jeannie, when she was starting, what, 5, Mary?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Till about 12 years old,
Mm-hmm.
almost weekly and or nightly, it varied,
Mm-hmm.
but it was consistent for 7 years.
Yeah.
He essayed her consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as other individuals, cousins, family members, etc.
So Jeannie, Mary's sister, and another one of Dawn's victims, although she probably doesn't want to be known as that, was the same age as Summer. So we talk about these patterns that we've picked up and sensed just by getting to know Dawn the way we have over the past 5 years. Things and the pieces of the puzzle start to make a lot more sense as to what happened and the reasons why they had to come up with this cockamamie alibi that is constantly being contradicted anytime they fucking talk. And they even acknowledge that they have, really they have more knowledge, and they don't want to really even talk about, especially the time period between 3:30 and 6 o'clock when they called 911. That time frame is a mystery.
Yeah, nieces that won't come forward that I have actually talked to, but they absolutely will not come forward.
And so this was all reported to the law enforcement authorities, and they conducted a thorough investigation. They ran up against the statute of limitations, but they had interviewed him in jail while he was in custody on a DUI. Josh obtained those tapes of the police interview, and he played them on the lab. And if anybody wants to hear those, you can get over to the lab and listen to the whole thing. And then he now is in this phase now where this is where the threats have come to the surface here. And so we have multiple victims that we know of right now. The police know about it. And, he says he's coming to Utah where Mary lives. And last night or whenever it was, Mary, what did he say he was going to do?
Yeah, first he called me a couple times and I didn't answer it. And so then he sent me a couple of texts and he goes, by the way, I got my old job back in Utah. And then he sent another text and said, are you happy? ? And I didn't respond. And then he called again and it went to voicemail and he said, I'm coming to Utah. What did he say? Yeah, something like I'm coming to Utah or I'm on my way to Utah, bitch. And then hung up. So, and this was 2 weeks ago when he said, and Josh has the recording because I recorded him, and he said he was going to break my jaw. He sold his house, he's off parole, and he's coming to Utah to get me. So,
have you given that information to law enforcement?
Yep. The next day I went and got a hold of the police, and they made a report. And then they also had another report, like it was about 2 months prior to that. He had sent me a threatening text. And so they had the report of that. And then last night or yesterday morning, I called them because he had just called me, a couple days ago. So, and they've got the report of all that. And that's all on recording too. So,
What is your understanding of the motivation for being that angry at you at this time?
I don't know. It's like he gets drunk and he can see stuff like on YouTube that I was on YouTube a year ago and it pisses him off. So he starts calling me. But he's pissed off because I went and made a report against him,
Thank you
because
very
I
much,
really
Anon.
feel
I
like he
appreciate you.
needs to
Shout
pay
out,
for
brother.
what he did.
I appreciate that very much.
But yeah, he's angry at me because of that, and it could be stuff even that happened all of our lives together. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I met Donnie when he was 5 years old.
But Mary, tell him what prompted this again, because it was reported by you in 70, I believe 79,
Yeah.
maybe 78. But what prompted you guys to, and by the way, that didn't involve Chris or I at the time at all. We didn't know anything about this.
Right. Yeah. Well, this was just a couple of days after she went missing. Me and Jeannie, my sister, the one that he had been sexually assaulting since she was 5, we started talking about Summer because we never knew that Donnie had a girl. We just thought he had boys. And then we found out that she was 5 years old. And Jeannie was telling me, well, that's the age I was when he started sexually assaulting me. And I was like, oh, because I didn't really know because Jeannie never told me. So,
all the other children are male?
Huh?
All those other children are male?
Yes.
Donnie's other children?
Donnie's children. Yeah.
They were all male except for Summer?
Well, no, he's got one more daughter that's older. She's probably 30 or something. And her name's, another older daughter. So,
Well, the reason I ask is because, again, an accusation can't be made here, but I'm just trying to understand. You're saying that this is somebody who has a history of assaulting girls exclusively, right? The
Yeah.
choice would be female in terms of victim.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that there's just, there's that one little girl in the house that, you wonder if something like that was
Right.
going on, because I'm just curious if that's what's being suggested. And I guess the point is that if somebody is concerned that you may be making a link between past behavior and current behavior, you might
Right.
be getting too warm in terms of what theoretically could have occurred. That
Right.
gets somebody very upset, because once somebody knows about the past, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to start wondering about what may have gone on,
Right. Yeah.
recently. And so if you're going to tell a story like, somebody broke in to take this person, they're a terrible person who wants to hurt children, and the person listening to the story doesn't know that you have your own history of such event, such things,
Right.
you walk away with a very different impression. So I think that makes someone who has information like that someone that you want to gag up. And because you telling that story, I mean, you have thousands of people listening right now. Anybody hearing your story right now would say, "Oh, that changes everything, doesn't it?" And so I think, especially if you put it through a megaphone, it gets this person obviously very upset. And then you put that together with the possibility that, if you are one of these people leaning towards the idea that this is a cover-up story, I'm not making any statements like that, but if you are leaning that way, what would be the motivation for doing that? That you're trying to get away with something and you're trying to eliminate evidence and get rid of a person whose body or, story could give testimony to something that you have done, and you might have a history of it. So you could just imagine that what you would have to do is threaten anybody who had info. And I mean, that's the whole point, is to get people out of the way because they know too much. So I think that's the whole idea is you want to pay attention to when the person gets whipped up. And I think it's interesting, Josh, you had the same issue, right? You were kind
I've had that issue probably for like like I said, this isn't the first time that he's called me, and it's the first time that he's officially like threatened, a shanking or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, he has called and left me messages before, text messages, me talking about his past. And I did want to ask you this, and it may be a stupid question to you, but I think that a lot of the criticism that I hear is, well, what does this have to do with Summer? And how important to you are these people's pasts? I mean, is it of the utmost? Is it, not really that important? Or
this is gold. This information is essential. I mean, Chris will tell you, in the Cold Case Foundation and in places when you're trying to profile or get a sense of an offender, one of the most important things to know is if a person has a history like that, because past behavior predicts future when it comes to violent sex offending. Wouldn't you say, Chris? I mean, you when you see a person who's anything but, a teenager or 20s, you know,
Violent sex offender. Well, who do we know in the Jack and Lily case that's going to be on the hook for just that sort of label? Daniel. Other parallels. Don and Daniel's degenerate behavior. Mr. Prosciutto. Interesting. This is from Summer Wells' psychological assessment of her house and bedroom from the interview room. The link is pinned to your chat. Mary Hartman.
committing an offense, you're not thinking it's their first rodeo. You're thinking, when did they do it before? And so we go looking for it, and it's like, people like, how did you know to ask that? Well, because I was looking for it. I knew it was going to be there, right? I mean, so I mean, wouldn't you say, Chris? That's like essential.
Yeah, it's right. It's fundamental 101, and because from an investigative analysis side, obviously, my role is to gain information and then feed it to Dr. Bricotto, right? I mean, this is what we do as investigators. And then they kind of give us, Dr. Bricado would do an assessment and then feed it back that, okay, this is the type of personality
Right.
that you'd be looking at. So one of the things I wanted to do right from the get-go was kind of get into the house, kind of get into the victimology, the family, kind of those dynamics that you're talking about, Josh. And then at that point, once we cross that bridge of, okay, well, if one of the family members has this in their background, which, thanks to Mary, thanks to Jeannie, coming forward, and Trish, her daughter, and saying, hey, wait a minute, the reason we called is because that happened to me when I was 5. Okay. That, and to Dr. Bricado's point, is gold. It's gold. And so also, Gary, what you aren't aware of, he called me because I was there.
So another thing that people will be pointing out that has a lot of similarities to the environment in which Jack and Lily lived was extremely similar to the same situation as Summer Wells and the boys were living in. All of the junk strewn about, piling up outside, things rotting in the yard, neglected. People preoccupied with their substances inside and isolated. Things piling up, disorganization, dysfunction. But extreme dysfunction, one could argue.
Was trying to get a sit down with him, and he wouldn't sit down with me. He avoided me purposely for 4 days. And then finally he called me, and he ends up copping out on the phone that he had done those things to Jeannie and Mary when Jeannie was starting at 5, but she came on to him, and he was 12.
It's a lot of externalizing of blame to right.
A lot of criticism that we have received, Chris and I specifically, is because we have dug into the past and reported about it, and people get, that want to either defend him or and I can understand. I understand that people are like, well, what relevance is it to that? I think the relevance is, it's just stacking these, just flags on top of each other, one after the other. Every major news site that covered this story talked about the criminal behavior of the parents in the article. And
I don't know why he's looking at it from such a primitive way when you can say that everything and all of these patterns matter when you're building a circumstantial case. Right? This is circumstantial evidence, and it's relevant. It's a form of circumstantial evidence in a legal sense. Why doesn't Chris correct Josh? I know what he's saying, but he's struggling. You're struggling to find that next meaning, and what that next meaning is, trying to translate that into legalese. Fucking make the jump, Josh. Yeah, Robin, I hear you. God bless Josh, too. I love him. Friends, 2 hours, 42 minutes. I'm going to get off here tonight. I'll see you back tomorrow. Continue. Let me know what you guys are thinking now. Give me whatever crazy update you think is poignant in the comment section below about anything that's going on. Of course, over there at Ziggy Hill's channel and anybody else that was associated with the case. Give me an update in the comment section, friends. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.